Urban, what was the original seed to an evergreen business?
Yeah. So the seed in this context is like the idea from which
Mhm.
something springs forth. In this case, like my business was the sort of fruit of the seed. But if we go back to like the very beginning, day one on X basically came here because of Danko, surprise, surprise. But the idea then was, oh, I can like monetize cool shit online. Let me just see what that's all about. At the start, it was basically just like random ass self improvement content, and I thought somehow money would land in my account. But after that, sort of, you get to like see that maybe it isn't that simple, and you actually have to not completely niche down, but at least do something of value for other people, as opposed to just like talk about whatever. So my sort of topic that I choose to sort of, I guess, explore further was the mindset element of self-improvement. Very much like that, sort of like how to use perspective shifts to manage stress or just to like reframe a situation for your benefit. And also how to look at things just to have more fun in life, which then translated into my creator work since I was creating content. And I sort of got the idea of, wait, I can kind of share this with others, like how to approach your creator work, how to execute creator work, how to structure your work as a creator so you don't burn out and die in a ditch. And that's where the like stress management for creators idea and branding was born. This is all like more than a year ago at this point. But that slowly evolved into my first big idea, which I was semi proud of, the carefree creator branding, which is basically still that like how to structure creator work without burning out and managing stress, but with the added element of okay, here's how you actually do branding, here's how you write content that attracts clients, here's how to monetize whatever you're doing. And then I was thinking of, okay, well, that's cool and all, but people aren't really gonna pay me just to make them chill out. So I was like, all right, cool. I just like have this as a unique element, but my core thing would be like helping people build brands, monetize brands. Since everyone was doing it at the time, I kind of fell onto that hype train. No shame in that. But that's sort of where I started moving into like away from more of the mindset elements, although that still remained a part of it, and more towards the branding and monetization elements. But I was thinking, okay, like I don't want to just be a random as another like growth guru talking about like, oh, like just post this template, you'll go viral, close clients, trust me, bro. But instead, I sort of thought about, okay, how do I want to build a brand? How do I want to monetize? And like the only thing that really came up was monetize something I enjoy doing, monetize my interests, my passions, my curiosities. Basically, sort of why I started without really knowing it, because I feel like we're all sort of came here for meaning, not just money. Most of us, but that's like a side ramble before I go into that. But yeah, that sort of monetize your passions turned into the Evergreen creator idea, which is basically just someone who came here to monetize work they love in a way that's enjoyable to them, but still effective. So they're not just like fumbling around doing what they enjoy without getting zero results. You still use systems, you still use principles, you still use methods that actually suit you, but you don't do it in a way that's like forceful, that burns you out, that goes against what you believe in, and everything is just nice and aligned, which maybe takes longer for some people, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. And I do believe like 99% of us are here for the long run. But that evergreen creator thing like really resonated with me since evergreen and nature, perfect combo. It's pretty catchy as well. Other people also like started mentioning it. I was like, all right, cool. Let's run with that for my main branding, and then just sort of turn more into evergreen business and now evergreen funnels, as I myself got more interested in the monetization aspects, the lead acquisition, closing, how to attract quality clients and basically convert them without having to do anything. In other words, farming inbounds or like optimizing for inbounds, if you want to use that word. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at right now. It's like evergreen business still has that enjoyment element at the core, do what you love, but then monetize it still with systems you can rely upon and that don't burn you out. But it has more of a focus, I suppose, on the funnel building elements of like build a brand as a funnel that just naturally attracts clients, converts them for you, so you don't have to like spend ages chasing them down or convincing them like your life depends on it. And you can still build reliably without having like a mental breakdown over your brand and business. plus the nature, like innuendo in the Evergreen definitely still matches with my brand, which is here to stay. The nature theme is never going away, even if I die in the process.
Yeah, I can see you have like a plant there and a
Yeah.
green wall. I also have a green wall. But yeah, a long and interesting journey, especially the mindset and stress element caught my eye because I think that a lot of us who start with like self-improvement go into the, I would say, more self-awareness and self-knowing space. And could you maybe tell us a little bit more about this beginning phase, maybe where you help people managing stress? Because I know it's like old, your old brand, but I think that it's still one of the biggest topics. So could you maybe explain a little bit more what you did and maybe even some tips for us who are just starting out?
Yeah, yeah. So like I sort of looked around the market and asked other people, got on calls to see what's actually causing them stress. And again, this was a part of me doubling down on the enjoyment and alignment factors because that ended up being the main reason why people are feeling stressed about their work, creator work specifically. It's just like the core things that they're working on just sort of feels a bit off, a bit misaligned, a bit something that they don't really want to commit on, but I sort of feel like they have to make money or like to reach a goal that they set for themselves, even if it's not really a goal they would be passionate about. Anywho, there's definitely like a sort of case to be made that before you double down on something, make sure it's something you want to double down on, just because you're gonna save yourself a lot of headaches in the future and like as you said, stress. But that's more of like a fundamental shift that if that's missing, everything else is gone, and I can like throw tactics and tips at you that's gonna help a little bit, but not really get rid of the core issue. But I did, if I remember correctly, I did do like a free consulting call here and there on the topic of how to like enjoy your brand more or how to get more aligned with it. And I sort of realized that, okay, people hear this advice of pick a monetizable skill like web design or ghostwriting or like lead gen or like closing, sort of being a sales closer, whatever it may be, which is all good. I'm not against that. But a lot of people hear that and think it's like the only choice, and it's a very like linear choice of do this, nothing else. This is the only path. There is no other way to do this. For some people that works. They can just like put their head down, get to grinding, and do it without really feeling like it's off. But for a lot of people, myself included, if I just do that, I'm gonna like want to shoot myself in the foot in 3 days. So, so basically, I remember a guy that was doing like email marketing for someone, and he had the idea of, okay, I want to be an email marketer. I'm studying email marketing. I'm sort of good at it now, and I want to start offering it, but I don't really know where to go from here. I sort of feel kind of lost and a bit misaligned at this point. And I sort of ask him, okay, like, what are your other passions? What else do you enjoy in life? Who do you like spending time with? And he had like a big fitness passion. So like, wait, they'll just fucking write for fitness guys then. Start there. And the point of all of this isn't like to get a perfect 10 out of 10 plan laid out before you even take the first step. The point is just to get an aligned direction to move in and then just sort of see how things go. Because again, business is a sort of very dynamic system that you can't predict anything, and you're just gonna have to go with the flow at times and iterate and adapt as you go. But yeah, basically just this element of taking a skill that people would actually pay for, aka solves a pressing problem in someone's life, and then combining it with a passion and interest and curiosity, a different way of doing things that resonates with you, doing that in whichever way suits you, see how it goes. If it works out, double down. If you manage to monetize it, scale. If not, again, take a step back, think about how you can other ways to do this. Doesn't have to be a like fundamental shift of, okay, like now I'm doing email marketing, then I'm gonna do like fucking ghostwriting for Amazon FBA guys. Doesn't have to be that drastic. There's a few shifts here and there, even just in your positioning, how you position yourself as your brand, as your business in front of other people can go a long way in changing how other people perceive you, and by extension, how they perceive you as valuable to them, and by extension, see you as someone who they would actually throw money at to solve a problem for them. And yeah, that's
Hmm.
basically my fucking rant on how to sort of get an monetizable path while not ignoring your passions and actually using them as your, I guess, advantage in this case. So that unique combination we mentioned of something that works plus something you enjoy is just gonna make you unique flat out.
Hmm. Yeah, it reminds me a lot about dance work. So he also says, okay, have something you're interested in, something that makes you money, and something that helps you grow. And the intersection or the inter or the thing in the middle is then the thing that you should go through. And I'm currently doing another course, and it mentions a lot about feedback loop. So trying something out, getting the feedback, and based on that, readjusting your current position. And I think that what you just said with this little alignment remind me a lot about that.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, after that, you went into creator work, and you kind of said that you hopped on the hype train, which was I tried the same at the time. I tried, okay, there are people who are branding, so I want to try the same. But then I horribly failed. Then I went a totally different path. And now I'm here podcasting, so that can happen a lot. But can you maybe explain a little bit more when the shift happened? Was it that your old business wasn't that growing, or was it just the hype train you wanted to jump on?
yeah, yeah. Two things there. One of it was, like I said, stress management on its own. Sure, it's valuable, but mostly people that will pay for that are like higher ups that I didn't really have a way to reach at the time since I was basically like a nobody at the time. Maybe in the future I'm open to that idea since I still enjoy that element. Who knows? But back then I was like, okay, this isn't really working. And you mentioned feedback. I would say there are two types of feedback. One is like external, so is this working in the market? Are people showing interest? Are my posts getting engagement around this topic? Other people like messaging me about this? Am I getting clients? Am I getting sales? And the other is internal feedback of basically like how do I think about this? How do I feel about this? Do I enjoy this? Does something feel off? Is this again worth doubling down? And you sort of cross-reference the internal and external feedback, and then by that sort of like a combination decide, okay, is this something I want to keep pushing, or do I want to step away, reposition a little bit, and push that way? Because like at the start, I feel like you have this mobility that you just don't have later on, or like you could just change what the fuck you're doing in a day's notice, and no one will really give a shit. But yeah, for me specifically, it was a combination of okay, this clearly isn't working in the market, at least for me at the time, but I also didn't really enjoy, or I did enjoy it, but I sort of felt like I could do more with my skill set at the time than just like help people with stress because I was learning constantly about writing, about branding, about positioning, about writing posts that actually resonate with people. I was like, well, might as well just factor that in into my core offer and what I help people with, and then combine it again with the alignment, with the stress element, with the mindset element, and that was way better received in the market. Like I said, I was doing like free consulting calls here and there just to test these things out, and people liked them a lot more. I could like see a transformation, I suppose, as they went through the call, and they're like aha moments of, oh shit, I could have actually done this, and it was way more impactful than what I was doing before. So I got like external feedback that okay, other people are resonating with this. Internal feedback, okay, I'm having a blast while doing this, why not just follow it? Even if it was like trendy at the time to be a growth guy, which I didn't like fully double down and to grow as fast as possible. That's not my point. Still isn't. But I did take, I suppose, brand growth as a niche, as my core topic. And I still have like very strong roots in that, in what I'm currently doing. It's basically like branding is the basis of the funnel I'm currently setting up for people as the part of an evergreen business, which is like a side point. But yeah, to answer your question, it was like a mix of this is working the market and I'm enjoying this, so why not just explore it further?
Hmm. Definitely, I would say smooth transition because I see so many, including myself, who just tried one thing, then totally shifted everything, tried another thing, and then was like shooting in every direction. And I think that's a lot harder than doing this slight adjustments to finally finding what you're looking for. But yeah, now I think we kind of go chronologically. So now we have this new offer. How did it look like at the beginning? And then we will go over the steps to where is it right now. So how did it look at the beginning? Or let's change the question a little bit. What advice would you give yourself from back then to a beginner creator? So what would be the advice you would give a beginner creator back then? So at the beginning of your offer?
Yeah, yeah. So I think my first like official mentorship high ticket proper offer was something along the lines of I'll help you build an aligned brand or like build a brand in alignment with whatever you want to do on here, which I know is very vague, which is why it didn't really work that well. But it was sort of the starting point that initially got me here by basically like iteration, evolving as things go. And the alignment element stayed, the branding element stayed. But before I was basically positioning and framing it as I'll help you basically figure out what you want to do, then help you physically do it in your brand, implement that stuff in your brand and business, and then basically just see where it goes. There wasn't much of a tangible promise at the time. That slowly turned into okay, build a brand that like attracts clients with your interests, but still very like up in the air. Which like fast forward to now, I'm a have like a different opinion on these things, like sort of promising results instead of like promising, oh, well, like I'll get you X amount of followers in 30 days or X amount of clients in 30 days. I much prefer just saying, look, I'm gonna help you set up this thing that will get you results if you keep with it in the long run, but I'm not gonna promise anything because like things just happen in the market and
Mhm.
I can't control it, and this is a one-on-one offer, so I can't do all of the work for you. And I feel like in a place like that, I don't want to say it's like unjust to promise very like tangible, almost unrealistic results if you're working one on one with someone. Because I had a few clients that just like didn't do the work, and like, what the fuck do you expect from me at that point? But yeah, like right now, it's I'll help you transform your brand into a funnel in and of itself that attracts and converts quality leads while you sleep by leveraging like content and positioning. So it's a lot of it like you will get inbound clients and you will have a much easier time talking and closing clients, but I'm not gonna like fucking show up on a magical horse and spawn 3 clients in your DMs, since that's not what I'm. Because again, I'm not interested in like how to grow as fast as possible or how to monetize as fast as possible. I'm just gonna give you a system that helped me do those things in an aligned way in the long run. And again, that alignment element is still at the core of it. Forgot to mention, but I thought it was obvious. And that if you're like focusing on that, like I said, it makes the process slower, but that much more worthwhile. And some people won't resonate with that. Fair enough. I know that. But some people see that and like, oh fuck, I actually like that way more than the other guy who's like promising 30 clients with a speedrun DM script or whatever. Again, no judge, but it just goes to show that different people want different things, even if you are in the same market or same niche. It just depends how you position yourself, which is like one of the core factors of what I help people do, because it is sort of like the sort of suppose secret weapon everyone has, but very people actually use effectively, especially to leverage their like strengths and their desires and their passions.
Mhm. This story of like your client asking you to do everything, it's it's funny how some people just wants to do all the work, or they don't want to do all the work but expect all the results, and that's kind of, I would say, sad to see because so many people mess up this action reaction thing. They hope to get a reaction without putting in the action, and I think that if you don't understand the simple facts, then you just, yeah, then you just fail. But now let's talk a little bit more about your offer now. So, what would you say is an evergreen? Let's start off with the funnel. what makes an evergreen funnel?
Okay, okay. Guess I'm dropping some behind the scenes layout of what I consider to be an evergreen funnel. So basically, you still have like top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, the usual stuff. And then top of funnel is social media content specifically designed to position you as the people say like authority or the go-to guy or the expert. I much rather prefer position you as a leader in your niche or help you carve out your own like place in the market so that people see you and like that's the guy that does XYZ. And XYZ should be as clear as possible with the help of social media content and your brand, which is basically like your profile with the content with everything else you put out there. The brand is like a collective. But you got a social media content and then you got the profile at the top of funnel. All of that, well, the whole funnel basically stems from one core positioning angle, which is like what you do, who you do it for, how is it different, and how do you actually help people. You have like those four elements, which, in my opinion, are like the core parts of positioning. That if you leverage them, it will be like clear as day what you're here to do, and to the right people, you're gonna instantly resonate if you know how to position that. And again, you capture that attention at the top of funnel, then you slowly convert it into the middle of funnel, which is like landing page to a lead magnet or to a community, to a newsletter. I would say this is like personal preference because again, I'm not gonna with my clients, I'm not like, listen up, we're gonna do this step, that step, this step, and you know, and if you don't like it, you can shut up. It's like everything is still needs to be aligned, and you have like a lot of leeway once you understand how these things work and how to capture, convert, and monetize attention. But yeah, back to the funnel. In the middle, you've got like sort of newsletter, landing page, and then the lead magnet or the community, whatever you want to do. But the point here is to show these leads that yes, you have a problem. Yes, I understand your problem. Yes, I have a solution to your problem. Here's exactly how it works and how I can help you. Because on social media, if you post like a very in-depth breakdown of how you would help someone, sure, some people might give a shit, but a lot of them will just scroll past, which is why I much prefer just like position you as a leader, as someone who is worth listening to, and then people tune in into this like middle of funnel to actually listen. Okay, how can this guy help me further? Since he already appears to know his shit and understands what I'm going through, well, let's see what he's got. And I'm a big fan of like not holding back much information, which is where in the middle of funnel I would just go like fucking crazy. If you read any of my newsletters, it's like illegal content in there. But I do believe, and we can get like into this later if you want, that giving value is one of the best ways to actually increase the amount of clients you get if you do it correctly. And then again, people who resonate with that, who like again understand you understand them, they understand you can help them, they understand how you can help them. The only option for them is, well, here is my offer. Would you be down? And I'm against this like sort of hard selling stuff of like here's the offer, it expires in 2 minutes, join or you're a loser. But but it's more of like an invitation of if this feels aligned and if this is something you would be ready to commit to, here's how we can take things further. And a lot of people just like turn into inbounds by themselves, but most people, if they reach that point, are very warm and very qualified leads, which at that point you can like reach out to them, get into an easy conversation, which leads to a close, and then the bottom of funnel where you have your offer. I prefer to have like one core offer and then multiple smaller offers if you want, but the whole thing is centered around a transformation. So like how do you get your customer or ICP, ideal customer profile, whatever the fuck you want to call them, from A, where they are now in the pain state, to B, their dream state or the goals they want to achieve. And then your core offer just wham, one big sort of jump. And then you can have mini offers with small segments and sort of get them to one place to another separately, but it's still on one consecutive transformation. So the whole thing makes sense. You're not like with one offer helping people like lose weight and with the other offer you're helping them gain muscle. It's like that doesn't really make that much sense with if you have like your positioning as just lose weight or just lose muscle. But yeah, that was like a very long-winded answer to the evergreen funnel.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I would like to have like a simple answer, there's just not one because if you want to know what it is, you got to understand how it works. And by that, like on paper, it's complicated. But again, like I said, once you understand these things, you can know how to tailor these to your specific preferences, and you can start making your own.
Hmm. You mentioned the word transformation a lot, so you basically, I think, take the person and then go through these steps you also went through to get where they want to be. But I would like to go over all of these three funnels if you're okay with that. So you start off with social media, so generally content, I think, is also part of it. So what would you say makes content that, or what makes a social media profile or this whole bubble make, or what of this whole construct brings people to the second stage, to the landing page and lead magnet and newsletter phase? So is there things we should focus on more than other?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, like the big factors people will look out for when they're just like scrolling around is this guy actually, or can this guy solve my problem? Does he understand like what I'm actually going through? Because I would say like understanding the problem and understanding what someone's going through, two different things. If we can have like a quick little 1 minute intervention, the problem is the actual roadblock holding them back. The sort of like what they're going through is the pain that problem is causing for them. So let's say the main problem in your business in this example could be that you just like don't have any fucking trust with your leads built up or like with your audience built up, which is why when you go out to sell, you're having a very tough time and you want to shoot yourself. So that would be like the core problem. But the pain you experience would be like pain of rejection when you get so many no's, the pain of having to reach out manually to so many cold leads because your warm ones don't give a shit, the pain of constantly putting out content without getting any responses, the pain of yada yada yada. So you see how like all of these pain points are actually extensions of the root problem that they're facing, but maybe they don't really know that this thing is actually down here and is the cause of all of their suffering, even though it is. And it's your job in the top of funnel to make them aware of this. So if you know like the customer journey of like unaware, problem aware, solution aware, that's a part of that is like this is your pain. I know what you're going through, and it's not because XYZ, or it's like it's not because what other people told you to. It's actually this core thing. Here's why. And now they understand, you understand them, and they also know that you know something they don't, which automatically puts you a step ahead, and they sort of like see you as someone that can lead them to a better place. And that's basically like what a leader is. And on a grander scale, using your brand, you can become like a niche leader to an extent, or at least a leader in your space. And that sort of combination of, like I said, this person understands me, he knows what I'm going through, and he seems to have a solution. Let's see what he's got. And it's usually enough to like, get people from top of funnel to middle of funnel, which is, like I said, where you go deeper into the solutions and really go like into breakdowns of here's why this is happening, here's how to solve it, and here's how I can help. A bit of that is still recommended, I would say, in the top of funnel, just so people get a feel of, okay, he's not just like spitting bullshit, he actually has some core like foundation behind this. But usually people in the middle of funnel are gonna be way more receptive to advice like that, since they signed up to hear the advice, as opposed to people on social media can just like scroll past and see this like big breakdown, not gonna give a shit, and it would be a tremendous waste of your time. So yeah, that's how I would look at the sort of transition phase between the up and middle of funnel.
You mentioned that you are way more or giving away way more information or whatever in the middle funnel, but how do I know what information should I put at the top funnel and which should I keep at the middle funnel? You mentioned that you should give away information, but since these people on the top are, yeah, less aware or less, mm, you mentioned the three layers of awareness, so they are like least aware
Yeah.
of what you're doing, but how can I see or decide which information I should put at the top funnel?
Yeah.
Is there like a filter or is it just trial and error?
As a rule of thumb, information around the problem is usually a better fit for the top of funnel, and information about your solution is better fit for the middle of funnel. Because again, if you go back to the problem, information about that consists of what actually is the problem, what's the root of their suffering, what is their suffering, so what are their pain points, and then also some objections around or like false beliefs, false conceptions, misconceptions around the problem on your ICP's end. So for an example here, let's say that back to like the trust guy that has no trust and is having a hard time closing leads. Let's say he thinks his actual problem is that he doesn't have enough followers. Or if I just had more traffic, things would be fine. Newsflash, 100 times zero trust is still zero. So, so his core problem is still traffic, but trust, excuse me. But he thinks it's traffic. So you can come in and say like, here, look, I still understand your pain. I know you think the problem is traffic. Here's why it's actually not. And you basically break their belief around their problem. And then again, this gives you basically the red carpet to roll in and say, so listen up, that's not the problem. The actual cause of why you're having trouble is this. Boom, insert your sort of perspective on their problem. And from there you can go like, wanna solve it? I share tips on solving it, yada yada, in my newsletter, yada yada, and you got them in the middle of funnel. So anything that goes like deep into problems, some people call this like the doctor approach of really like describing the problem someone is facing to them better than they can themselves, is a good approach for the top of funnel, middle of funnel as well. But like I said, that's where people usually sign up to get solutions, not to hear more about the problem, more or less. Because again, if they sign up at that point, they're already sort of on board with your idea of what their problem is. They just want to know how you can help them solve it, or what's your solution, what's your take on how to do this thing, as opposed to like how everyone else is doing it. But like we
Hmm.
talked about before, if you take into account the unique core of things of something that works along with something you like, and you roll with that as your unique offering, your unique solution will just be, well, unique. So people won't be able to get it anywhere else, and it'll be that much more like premium when they hear it from you. But yeah, that was for the top of funnel and for the middle of funnel, like I said, better fit for solutions, step-by-step breakdowns, case study shows, and basically like roadmaps. Even like small snippets of your offer can work well.
Hmm. So then let's talk about this middle phase. You said that you should give away value, and like you said right now, that you should only put in some snippets of your offer into it. So you already mentioned a few things I could put in this middle section or this middle funnel, but let's talk more about the how. So how do I take an idea I have into this middle funnel?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so to take like a holistic approach to this, let's say the main ideas for what you write about still stem from the core positioning of what you're doing, who you're doing it for, how you're doing it, and how is it different, or why is it different. From there, you're gonna get ideas of that are immediately relevant to what you're doing and immediately relevant to who you're trying to help. So you don't have to like stress about of, oh, like, is this worth writing about? Of course it is. Then it just depends, like you asked, how deep do you go? And for that, I would say top of funnel, keep it more surface level, still specific, but don't give like too much or don't overwhelm them with steps on how to implement. In the middle of funnel, like in an email, you can go, or at least I like to go way deeper into that. So again, a specific example on our poor trust guy, or like poor low trust guy. Let's say that in the top of funnel, in like a social media post, you basically say, hey, you're facing these problems. It's because you don't have trust. Want to fix it? Do XYZ. And let's say XYZ is build content that connects with your ICP, set up an evergreen funnel, and then finally reach out to warm leads that don't just say no to you on the spot. These are specific, but they're still kind of like vague. Like, you can hear that, but I'm like, well, cool. I guess I kind of know what to do, but I don't really know how to do it. Do you have something more? Yes, I do. I have the emails. Boom, middle of funnel. Here they are. And in there you can go same idea. Like here's your problem. Problem is trust. Here are the steps. But instead of just like dropping them and leaving, you go deeper on how to implement these steps. So before I think I mentioned like content that speaks to the right ICP. Here's how to write content that speaks to the right ICP. Then the next one, set up an evergreen funnel. Here's the outline you can set up today. And finally, like reach out to warm leads. Here's like an opening DM script you can use. Boom. Same thing, but more in depth for the right person that's already interested in what you've got. I know the thing is, I know some people will hear this and like, well, if you just like give it all away, then they can do it themselves. They don't need you anymore. If they're a Megamind 2.0, yes, they won't need you, but they won't even need you anyways. They're not that smart. Most people will take that advice and say, oh, fuck, this makes sense. Let's try it. Oh, fuck, I'm having trouble. I can't actually implement this on myself, even though it makes sense. Let me see if he can like help me himself. Or they will try it, it'll work, they'll get results, and it'll be like, oh, fuck, his stuff actually works. Let me get more. And it's a win-win either way. Like, unless you literally like give away fucking everything, which is impossible if your offer is any type of good, you're good. Like you don't have to stress about giving away too much, unless you're the type of guy that like positions yourself as a just freebie god. Like, give away like, come, my child, you don't have to pay me anything. I will help you for free. I will work one-on-one with you for free. Which is why you need to remember to mention that, by the way, I actually have an offer. I'm not doing like fucking charity work over here. I'm building a business. And that's again part of the positioning and setting yourself up as premium as a leader. And if you have that, you're good. You can share all the advice you want, and people will love you for it, as opposed to like start ignoring you for it. At least in my experience and my perspective.
This giving away value and information reminds me a lot about Alex Hormozy. So I always mention this in like literally every podcast. It's the same topic, and I always requote or quote that he says that you should give away all the information, but the application is the one step that only you can do with the person, and this should at the end be the offer. So let's go more into this offer thing. So you said that an offer that is good can't be put in a newsletter. So how would you say is this process of creating an offer?
Yeah, yeah. Like the thing is, I feel like any offer that is good means it's tailored to the other person. Like I said, not every client that comes to me, I'm not just like, here's the roadmap that worked for the last guy, take it and go. Like that's not how it fucking works. Everyone has their own needs, their own preferences, their own goals, their own like little twerks. Twerks? Jesus Christ, quirks. Excuse me. But yeah, like everyone has their own like unique way they want to approach things. So the same, like the exact same thing isn't gonna work for them the same way. This works especially if you're doing one-on-one on like done with you stuff. But even if it's done for you, everyone has a bit of a different business model. Everyone has a bit of a different ideas they want to play with, different goals they want to hit with their business. So we can't just use like the exact same thing on everyone, which is like the only possible way how you could technically fit your offer into an email that's just static.
Mhm.
Your offer is always like sort of tailored to the customer. Unless you're like a billionaire and have like a beautiful model that works 100% of the time that you've constructed through countless months of trial and error, then fine. But you're not fucking listening to this anyway. But
Maybe.
maybe. Hey, not off the table. But yeah, basically, like if you really focus on delivering the best you can for your clients, you're gonna want to change or like adapt your offer to them while again keeping the core intact. What you do, who would do it for, how you do it, and how is it different. That doesn't change. It's like the static thing or like the fundamental thing across everything in your brand. But your offer, again, is just here's the goal, here's who this is for, here is the rough roadmap we'll use. Again, leave this open to interpretation. And here is like why this is different from other offers and like why this would work for you. Because I do believe that like an offer isn't really something that like you write on a 20K word Google Doc and it's just there for the end of time not to be messed with, which is what I used to do back in the day. I wrote like side note in my stress management days, wrote like probably like 10K word document with the offer that I never ever used, like never sent it to anyone, just because the offer was fucking trash. And like I myself didn't really resonate with it. Like even if someone invests in this, I'm not gonna have a fun time delivering, so I'm not even gonna fucking try. Nowadays, I'm like, you've got a problem, I've got the skills. Let's make an offer together on the fucking spot. Since like it's really not that hard once you know the principles and once you know like what you're here to do, what your sort of purpose is with your brand and business.
Yeah, I ask this question because the offer I'm creating right now involves literally zero like papers, and it's like all from experience and knowledge I gathered throughout the years. But I don't have any Google Doc or whatsoever about it. I just have like a rough roadmap I send to the people, and that's basically it. The rest is just let's do this together. And I think at the end, it's all a skill game. So we are selling our skill to people who need it. And it always is the person who wants it and the people who has it. And they like connect, they create something new. And it's always individual. So yeah, but this process, I don't know if you go through with the client from top funnel to bottom funnel, or is there like a rough roadmap you go with them?
Yeah, yeah. Again, it depends on where they're at. Because if
Okay.
someone has like a very good top of funnel, but shit middle of funnel, I'm not gonna say like, oh, the roadmap says we start with the top of funnel and then we go to the middle of funnel. Like, no, if I can go to the actual problems first, get to solving them for your clients. But yeah, like I guess if someone had like nothing built out, then you would go from the bottom up, because again, the offer is still like the main sort of goal of a funnel, get people to that. Once that's locked in and the positioning is locked in, then we can sort of start getting people towards that with the top of funnel and the middle of funnel. But if you start with like, oh, I want to like write a post about fucking, I don't know, milk, and then your offer is about avocados. Like, it's not gonna work out, my guy. So even though funnels are super powerful, they're not gonna work at all if the actual foundation they're built upon is again misaligned. Which is still why I preach so much about the misalignment thing and why it's like an underlying principle behind everything I do.
So now let's do a little bit of a practice. So let's just say I'm a total beginner. I have 0 or like 50 followers and I want to start out. I already wrote a little bit of content around mindset or whatever is my interest. And now I come to you and say, okay, I need help. I want to grow this into an evergreen business or a business in general. What would be the steps you would go with me? And what are some questions or things you would tell him along the way?
Yeah, yeah. So for like complete beginners or people who aren't sure what the core thing they want to do on here even is, for them what I like to do is okay, for 1 week you're gonna post whatever the fuck you want about. Don't think about it, just post it. Like no editing, no filtering, just go. And then when that week is done, we take all of the posts, we put it in like a system I made that basically breaks them down into what's the core idea here, who can this idea help, what problem does it solve, and do you have any expertise around the idea that you can monetize? Basically something around those steps. And the point is, as you're like writing these posts, the only rule is that you're trying to help people with it. It's not just like the sun is fucking shining today and that's it. If that was the idea, like the sun is shining today, go outside, it's good for your health. Now you're trying to help people. And if you have like a lot of those, And like, I kind of I like talking about health. I like talking about like the fucking like effects of the sun on your skin and health, and overall sort of, I suppose, like primitive routines, I suppose, on how to build health. And honestly, if that's a path you want to go down, fair enough. It's definitely viable. Like that's the beauty here. Almost anything can be monetized with the right plan and the right time frame. Some things just like way easier than others, that's for sure. But in any case, usually people have like a very good idea of which direction they want to move in after this first experimental week. Then we start to think about, okay, so once you have this idea, what's like a mini offer you can draft right now? Or like what's the sort of skeleton of an offer that you would like to deliver in the future, but maybe aren't as capable as of yet? And again, the main positioning elements is like basically what makes up an offer. What you're doing, or like what problem you're solving, who you're doing it for, how you're doing it, why is it different? Once again, for like the fifth time today. But it's good to get this drilled into people's heads.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, once that is answered, you probably have like a pretty good idea of, okay, this is kind of what I can offer, what I would like to offer. Now let's see if people even resonate with this. And with some stuff, you can just like instantly tell if, oh yeah, like I know like five other guys that are monetizing the same thing, so clearly it works. With some things, you gotta do a bit more market research, like talk to people that seem to match your ICP, get on calls, hop on DMs, do some like fucking research, ask GPT if you want. I don't care, but because it works. But if that's all good, then the first thing is like to start building an audience around that. Since again, if you don't have an audience, if you don't have traffic coming in, the funnel will build in the process isn't really gonna do its job, which is where the sort of fundamentals of writing come in. Now, like writing is a skill in of itself that has a skill ceiling in the fucking stratosphere, so you can learn it for a millennia and you will not be the master at it. But there are like some fundamentals that can get you from like, 0 to 1 very quickly. Basically, like get to the fucking point, make it specific, make it simple, make it relevant to your brand and your ICP. And then also, I would say the personality element is underrated in posts on X and like in social media in general. So I would say that's like a fundamental principle that learn to speak from experience and put yourself in front of the other people as a leader, and don't be afraid to like yeah basically say like I XYZ, I XYZ, because a lot of like advice on X is no one cares about you, it's all about them. That's true. But if you only like if you just ignore you exist and you just write you, people will ignore you exist since you haven't
Hmm.
showed how you fit into the picture, how your offer fits into the picture, how your ideas fit into the picture, how your like actual like presence is beneficial to them, why they should stick around for you. So yeah, that's like a suppose a underrated thing in writing. But yeah, once that's done, the content starts like rolling out. We would get like content schedule, a system, just so you don't like go fucking bold from stress of keeping up with content creation for months on end. And again, then we start thinking of okay, how do we want to really construct this funnel? Because again, if someone's going like from zero to like, something, then I would say the actual infrastructure of the funnel is the last thing you want to do. Because again, well, if you have an audience, then you can worry about the funnel. But if you don't have that, and that's not even validated, then why build a funnel if you're not sure it's actually going to help people? But yeah, that's where like the middle of funnel with a newsletter and the lead magnet, a community if you want, like Telegram chat, anything like that comes into play. Again, still centered around the what problem you're solving, who you're doing it for, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, or why is it different.
Hmm.
And from there, you just sort of test and iterate as you go. Because basically that's like the whole setup. Like the blueprint is pretty simple on paper, but these things just constantly shift, they constantly change. You gotta adapt to what you're doing, you gotta adapt to how your ICP is responding, you gotta adapt to the market. Trends, some do affect what you're doing, but most you can just ignore, whatever. But then also as you get better and as you like learn more stuff, you can deliver more to your clients. So you will have to like sort of change what you're doing or what problem you're solving. As you get better at solving one problem, move on to the next. So, like, for example, with me, for starters, I was just stress management. I can like help you get a bit more calm, I suppose, with your creative work. Then afterwards, I can help you write posts that actually don't suck. I can help you build a brand. I can help you build good positioning. I can help you build an actual fucking funnel that gets you clients. All of those still like follow the same journey, but there were like upgrades along the way. But if I like just sort of ignored that I was getting better at it and was getting more interested at it, and just like kept to this one very niche thing, it could work. But in my experience, if you keep learning stuff, you'll just naturally be drawn to use that knowledge to help others. So why not do yourself a favor and just sort of like upgrade your current setup, evolve your brand? Since if you ask me, the first two-ish, well, I can't say for sure, but I would say like 2 to 3 years in business, it's all about learning and all about skills. I feel like it's very unlikely you're actually gonna find something worth doubling down on that you can double down at the time. Again, if you're starting from zero, that is, and then just expect it to scale it into infinity and have it be the last business you need. Some people might pull it off. Definitely happened before, but very unlikely. Usually they're just like sort of going with the flow, learning more, helping more, and seeing which opportunities come your way. So I would say like last piece of advice is don't be too suppose attached to a certain way of doing things, to a certain idea, to a certain brand, to a certain offer, to a certain business model. Like just be open to throw that away, take on something new, take the pain of change a little bit for the greater good of what you're actually trying to do here. Because again, if you keep sort of like in this one lane and you want to switch lanes and you know it will be better in the long run for you to switch lanes, fucking switch lanes. Don't be a dumbass and like be very stubborn on one thing if you know it's not good for you and you feel something's off. That's where that misalignment burnout kicks in and you're like basically cooked. And that's where people quit. Like I have like
Hmm.
in tons of stories from like consulting calls with people who have gone down that path. Not good. Basically never ends well. Unless they like take a step back, maybe quit for a month or two, then come back and actually do something they're aligned with. But yap over.
The switching lane thing is something a lot of us have to do, but we don't want to truly believe it, I think. So
Yeah, it's tough.
or most of the times, if you start with the offer, you kind of see it as your baby and you don't want to like lose it. And that's a thing why, like you said, so many of us quit because they try something, go months and months into research, into creation, then they put it out in the market and bam, they get nothing from it. And like you said, this causes the burnout in many cases. But the switching lane, when would you say is a good time to do it? Because let's take me, for example. I started this focus thing in May or June. And ever since I'm now helping a few people, I'm validating the idea. But in the long run, I know that if I double down on that and if I get some results, I have to move towards something like a mindset coach. And when would you say is the point where I know that I should switch lane and how does the process look like? Not for me individually, but generally.
Yeah, yeah. Usually, I can't give you a formula for this because different people are just gonna have like different
Mhm.
tolerances for, okay, now I'm sort of sick of this. I want to do something else. And then you're gonna think, okay, is that just shiny object syndrome speaking? Or is that like your internal compass telling you that way is more aligned with you than this way? Because it's very like similar feeling sometimes. Like you get like a rush of wanting to do something else, even though you committed so much, like you said, invested so much in this one thing and don't really want to let it go. But even taking a step back from that, letting the idea sit for a while, and if you still think that option B is better, go give it a try. If you feel it, keep going. If you see results, double down. If you actually manage to make it work, well, there you go. Congrats. But on how to make the decision, it's very like individual. Like I said, some people are just built different. They can do like one thing, even if they'll really feel like it forever. And as long as they get the results of like money or status or fame, they're good. Hats off to them. I'm not one of them. I definitely need to feel like some sort of more extra like meaning in my work and connection with my work. Just because that's like one of the core elements of why I even came here. Like work you enjoy and get money from, fuck yes, sign me up. But along the way, a lot of people, I was talking to a friend about this the other day as well. They just lose sight of why they really started because they get like blasted with do this, do that, this works, this doesn't work anymore, this is the new trend. Oh my god, this guy blow up with this like new fresh method. You got to give it a try. And all of it is very appealing. And again, at the start, as a beginner, you don't really know which lane to go, and you're very like sort of like this cool, this is good, this is good. Let me just try to see how it goes. But like you said, you get attached to that after a while. You get validated by that after a while, and then you're not stuck in it, but you're definitely committed to it. So getting out of it is gonna take a bit of a like fucking punch to the gut, but sometimes it's for the better. But I wish I could like tell you a framework to run through when it's for the better. But usually, if you are the type of person that cares about this, you will just feel this like itch in you to do the other thing, and after a while, it's gonna get unbearable, and you have like the option of quitting or pivoting. And at that point, it's just basically a question of how strong your character is and can you take it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a very, very individual question, and a lot of us have to go through it alone or with a person who maybe did it themselves. But yeah, I think that we covered a lot about the Evergreen funnel. I hope we haven't missed a point.
Oh no.
But now I want to talk a little bit more about, I wouldn't say creative stuff, but more about you. And one of the things you are known for in our community is the little guy, the drawings. So can you maybe tell the story behind it? So how did it all start?
Yeah, yeah. So funny how like that same as my core branding was just like a spontaneous evolution of what I was doing when I started. So I think like a month or so after I created my X account, I got the idea of like a daily series of day blah 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 of begging people to spend more time in nature. Tree emoji. And the idea was, if I get to like day 500, that's gonna be like instant credibility for me because people will see that I've actually been consistent with this thing for 500 days. Life hack. But then after a while, I was like, that's kind of boring. Let's add something in. And the first thing I added was like a little prompt of what to do in nature. So like play with some sticks, throw a rock in the river, like look at a leaf, play with an ant. I don't know, something like that. And I was okay. That's cool. Still kind of boring though. I want some images. And I feel like the first time, the first two tries were like AI generated bullshit images of I don't remember what it was, but it was just bad. So like, oh, fuck this. That was, you know what? I'm gonna just make my own images. I'm gonna fucking draw. And again, like, for starters, it was still this like little prompts. So I think the first drawing was actually like little man. Well, the guy that turned into little man, like skipping rocks. Since the prompt was skip some rocks on a river, and I think that was about 2 weeks. It was that style. But then I don't know why I had this like 1 week where it was a story about like this little man guy meeting like a lion and some dragons and having a fight. And I was like, hey, this kind of feels nice, like a little narrative. It like makes sense. It keeps progressing day by day, and people also enjoyed it. It was like a little mini story. Like, let me just keep this going. And that's essentially how the Little Man Adventure thing was born. Like every day was just like a new little adventure for him, a new drawing. Fucking hell, I don't even know what day it is at this point, but it has been like hefty over a year, and I think it's like 460 right now. I don't know. Yeah,
But
but
are they like connected to something else, or are they like completely independent? So are they like random ideas you get and then evolve the story, or are they like tied to something that's happening in your life, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I feel like I do get a bit of inspiration from what's currently happening in my life, but usually it's like every week I just sort of sit down and outline the story for that week, and it's like that sounds cool, let's do that. That's basically the thought process behind. Like I don't take it seriously at all since it's fucking goofy drawings on a business app. But I very much like it. Other people like it. For a time I did have like doubts of is this gonna hurt my credibility and my authority, since again it is pretty fucking goofy. But at the same time, it's very unique, so it stands out a lot, instantly makes me like sort of separates me from the crowd. And it also shows off the more like light-hearted approach I have with these things. And like when I thought about it, if someone doesn't resonate with that, I probably don't want to work with them anyway, so who gives a shit? I might just keep it.
You said that X is a business app, but I think that over the time, so especially comparing myself from 1 year ago, I was like a Facebook account was just commenting under big accounts and meme accounts. And I think that this creator journey changed me a lot throughout the way. And how would you say was your journey in general? So we talked about your overall journey from stress management to Evergreen now, but what was the personal change throughout the way?
Yeah, yeah. Very good question. Because I would say the probably most underrated benefit of starting a solo business from zero is the character growth you get from it by just being forced to figure shit out day after day and being forced to learn to adapt to getting punched in the balls repeatedly. Like for me, again, since I focused on this alignment element, it's always been fun, even if things like were like if there was a slow month or things were working out or I didn't know why things were working out, like was frustrated with something. At the core of it, I was still having fun creating content. So for me, it wasn't that much of like a sort of pain in the ass. But naturally, I am more introverted. So the first, like, I still remember like the first DM I sent to like a random guy that I still sort of keep in touch with. It was like, what's he gonna think of me? And like the first call was even worse. First consulting call, fucking way worse. Like, because then you're like, oh fuck, I gotta deliver for someone. What if I can't? What if like he doesn't like the advice? What if he hates me? And basically that times 10 for the first paid client and so on. So it does just like build a fuck ton of self confidence. One, because like you're just forced to get out of your comfort zone and take it day after day, but also because you have like so much proof now that you can actually set a goal, learn how to achieve it, get it done, and keep going. So I would say that builds like like a very good deal of trust with yourself and self belief, along with confidence. But I would say for me, it also helped me like with socially way more open, way more confident, way more energetic around other people. I would say a big part of it is just like getting on calls like this with strangers from the other side of the world, speaking in a language that isn't like my own. Definitely like very enjoyable again, but at the start it was stressful as fuck. Yeah,
I can totally agree. So, like I said, I was a Facebook account and I was like commenting on the meme account. And then I think one of the first DMs I ever wrote was to Esther, to her old account, which is really funny. And now I had her on the podcast
yeah, I
like
saw that.
2 weeks
Thank
ago.
you.
So yeah, I think that a lot happens when you're on this journey. You learn a lot more, you solve problems your own way, and you understand how to solve things. And I think that mentors, you already mentioned Dan, but who would you say are some other mentors you learned from along the way?
Yeah, yeah. Like I did have some actual mentors I paid for.
Hmm.
The first one was fucking horrible though. That was like my bro. my first two investments on X were a mentor that like took 4K out of my pocket and delivered nothing since we were like very misaligned, and paid RTs when I had no idea what I was doing, which is fucking waste of time. Don't do that. So, so I was a complete idiot with my financial decisions. But yeah, afterward, got another mentor. Beautiful. Really like working with him. And then also like cohorts and like workshops. Invested a lot of that. Also in courses. So in like physical mentors, like practical mentors, specific mentors, did have my fair share of those. But if we're talking like creators I looked up to, sure, Danko at the start, although I don't really follow him that much anymore. Alex Hormozy is definitely like climbing up as I get more and more interested in the business side of things. But at the same time, people like Ben Chan, I know it's generic, but I do very much like the guy. And recently, Shane Scarf, shout out to you, love the guy. And yeah, there's just some people that like pop up here and there, and I'm not sure if I would class it as a mentor, but they just like do something that, hmm, I kind of want to do that too. And I would say that's how you develop your own like unique style by just taking bits and pieces of what others are doing that resonated with you, and you combine it all into your way of doing things. Like I specifically, I'm not sure if you know Harry Beadle from back in the day.
Mm.
Yeah, he was a fucking goat. Although I hear like with his clients he was kind of a dick, but allegedly. But like his emails were perfection. Like really liked reading them, and specifically I remember he had these like little segments that were basically like over the top exaggerations explaining some sort of situation. And I was like, that's very unique, and I basically do that IRL unintentionally here and there. Now I've seen it, like people actually do this in writing, so I guess it's not, it's like allowed. Let me just take it, put in my own writing style, do the same with like 5 or 10 other people, and you have your unique writing style that still resonates with you. It's sort of validated to work, and well, it sets you apart. But I suppose another person I could shout out, if that's the right word, would be like Kieran Drew at the start as well for writing. It's pretty generic, but fuck it. Charlie Morgan or whatever the fuck the guy is.
Mm.
Like I
He's
don't know, like Charlie like Morgan or Charlie something else.
yes.
But yeah, his videos are fucking fire. Although I haven't watched one in way too long.
Hmm.
But yeah, like
He's like
before that, sorry to cut you
uh,
off. But before that, I suppose another generic one is like Hamza before I started the personal brand journey. But yeah, also got like a lot out of him.
mhm. Charlie Mong is like one of the guys I followed up since he had like 20K subscribers. So I was one of the early ones. And actually, one of his methods is one of my core principles of my whole phone addiction offer. So that's pretty funny. But actually, one of my old school friends was like, well, he's killing business and he's like way out of my league. But lately we started connecting and he also talked about his mentors and he always said like, okay, Iman is like the one everyone is looking up to right now. And funnily, the first big product I ever bought was from Iman. It was his monetize offer, and I was very convinced at the point and had the money, had the intentions, had the purpose. So I bought it, and ever since everything skyrocketed. And like you said, all of the guys you mentioned are also in some ways part of my journey, except this one guy with the crazy emails.
Yeah.
But I think that this is basically how you at the end create your offer. You learn from different people, you connect the learnings, and then you publish your own version, which is, I think it was Stan who called it remixing. You basically take ideas from everywhere and then remix it. But yeah, now I want to go from mentors to maybe like things you read or books that help you along the way. So are there like any recommendations you have for, I wouldn't say beginner, but generally creators in our space?
Yeah. Yeah. For I guess things I read in books are kind of similar because things I read that didn't really like stick with me probably aren't books, but it's not directly related. Well, hold up, let me just pull it up. This thing, The Art of Impossible. The cover is homemade. Ignore that. But yeah, by Stephen Kotler. It's really good. It's basically like a performance book, but it also has this like purpose and mission and alignment element, which I very much enjoy, which coupled with Ollie Abadal's feel good productivity, which also has a homemade cover. Really good stuff. Oh, and while we're at books, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, also fire. Although it's not specifically for ex creators, you can definitely still take a lot of lessons out of it and put into your creator work just to get that like sort of spark going. Again, that's more for the people who like the meaning and enjoyment and alignment elements. But yeah, I know there's like kind of probably untraditional books to like recommend creators. But again, I'm a big believer in like the approach you have with your work and the way you do your work is a fundamental part way too many people don't give enough attention to, which I would say is why they struggle so much later down the line when they like have the systems, have the plan, have the knowledge, have the skills, but don't really have this drive inside of them anymore to get shit done, let alone keep getting shit done day after day, day after day, day after day, even if it sucks. And I feel like that's where you really get to see which of these creators are gonna still be here in a year and which ones are basically gonna get filtered out in 3 months.
Yeah, I think that reading, especially, I used to only read like I have the books I read like to my left, and I see like only financial books, and I read all of them when I was like 16 and had no money in my bank account. But now I'm shifting all my reading towards more philosophy, more like books with ancient knowledge, like Marcus Aurelius. So
Yeah, yeah.
I saw that, okay, there's a lot of frameworks and a lot of strategic books. I also read them, but there's all of this. And I focused so much on them that I lost this part you just mentioned, this alignment part. And now I'm reading more of these philosophical books, which make me question things to understand myself more. But yeah, this Rick Rubin book, I saw this 2 weeks ago at a bookstore near my space, and I was like, okay, I saw this book everywhere, and I think the circle cover is like on so many books that I don't really know if this is the right book or not.
True, true, yeah.
But yeah, I think that we covered a lot in this call. Thank you for being such an amazing guest. And is there anything you still want to say to the listener?
I don't know what I'm gonna say, and it is to go out in nature. I'm looking at you.
That's the only right answer I expected.
Yes, sir. But
But
it was a fucking blast.
yeah,
So thank you for having me, good sir.
amazing. It was a blast for me. And thank you.